All right, today we are diving into something we all know, something we all struggle with: procrastination. But what if everything you've ever told yourself about it, that it's just you being lazy, is completely wrong? What if it's actually your brain trying to protect you? You know the feeling, right? You've got that big, important task staring you in the face, but suddenly, cleaning out the fridge seems like the most urgent thing in the world. And what's our first reaction? We beat ourselves up over it. Yeah, that inner voice, it sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? We tell ourselves it's some kind of personal failure, a deep flaw in our character. We're convinced it all just comes down to a simple lack of willpower. And this gets us to what experts are now calling the laziness myth. It's this idea that we've all bought into, that procrastination is just a straightforward, simple flaw that we should be able to fix with more discipline. And man, we are so quick to slap these labels on ourselves, right? Lazy, undisciplined, unmotivated. Every single time we do that, we're just hammering home this belief that there's something fundamentally broken inside us. It almost becomes part of our identity. But here's the big question. What if this entire way of thinking is just wrong? What if the story we've been telling ourselves about being lazy completely misses the real reason we procrastinate? So if it's not laziness, what is going on in our heads? Well, it turns out procrastination isn't some passive failure on our part. It is an active process. Your brain is doing it for a very specific reason. Okay, this right here, this is the absolute game changer. The myth is that it's a lack of willpower, but the reality? It's an active, protective fear response to something your brain thinks is a threat. And this is all grounded in a really powerful psychological concept called avoidance learning. Basically, your brain's number one job is to keep you safe, and it learns to steer you clear of any task or situation that it links with a negative, painful emotion. So what are these threats we're talking about? We're not talking about a lion chasing you. No. We're talking about these really powerful emotional threats. The fear of shame, the fear of judgment from others, the fear of failure, or even just that paralyzing feeling of being totally overwhelmed. So that brings up a pretty big question, right? If avoiding stuff is such a bad strategy in the long run, why on earth does our brain keep doing it? Well, it all comes down to one simple, irresistible thing: that sweet, sweet feeling of short-term relief. And this creates what we call the procrastination loop. Let's walk through it. First, you face a task your brain flags as a threat. Then, your brain predicts it's going to cause emotional pain. So what do? You avoid it. And then comes the reward, that immediate rush of relief. And that is the kicker, because your brain just learned a lesson. Hey, avoiding that thing felt good. Let's do that again next time. It becomes this powerful, hard-to-break cycle. So what's really happening here is like a tug of war inside your head. And the part of your brain that wants that guaranteed comfort right now is just screaming a lot louder than the part that's thinking about some uncertain, far-off reward in the future. Okay, so this brings us to the most important piece of the whole puzzle. This is how we can completely flip the script on that negative inner voice. Just let this one sink in for a second. Read it again. This is the core shift in thinking. You are not being lazy. You are not undisciplined. Your brain is actively trying to protect you from an emotional threat that, to your brain, feels 100% real and very dangerous. I absolutely love this analogy. Think of your brain as a well-meaning but kind of overzealous bodyguard. It treats the emotional fear of someone judging your work with the same red alert urgency as a physical threat. Its heart is in the right place, but its strategy is, well, a little flawed. And once you can see it that way, as a protective instinct and not a personal failing, everything changes. It lets you stop beating yourself up and instead start getting curious about what's really going on. So this is the practical switch you can make right now. You stop asking that old, painful question, what's wrong with me? And you start asking a much more helpful one. Okay, wait, what am I actually afraid of right now? Is it that I might fail? That people might judge me? Finding the real fear is the first step to actually solving the problem. And that leaves us with this final, really powerful thought. If your brain is just a misguided bodyguard, then the goal isn't to fight it or overpower it with more discipline. The goal is to start a conversation with it. So how can you start to reassure that protective part of yourself that it's actually safe to move forward?